All right, let's get into it. Today, we're firing up the engine on one of the most powerful and important topics in all of macroeconomics, economic growth. It's a concept that's literally everywhere, and it shapes our world in ways you might not even realize.
So you see headlines like this all the time, right? Economic growth, up 2.1%. It just looks like a number, maybe with a little green arrow. It feels kind of abstract. But what if I told you that this single statistic is deeply connected to almost every part of your financial life?
Yeah, that's right. When we talk about economic growth, we're talking about the availability of jobs. When that engine is running hot, businesses are expanding, they're hiring, and whole new career paths are opening up. It is the fundamental difference between a job market that's booming and one that's, well, tough.
And it doesn't stop there. It also has a huge impact on your own personal finances. You know, a healthy, growing economy usually means better returns on your investments and a much more stable financial world for all of us.
And if we zoom out to the big picture, it's really about the future quality of our lives. A growing economy is what funds the public services we all depend on. Think about our schools, our hospitals, our roads. It's literally shaping the world we're going to live in tomorrow.
Okay, so we've established it's a really big deal. But what is economic growth exactly? I mean, what are we even measuring when we say the economy is growing?
Well, in the simplest terms, it just means a country is producing more stuff than it did before. More cars, more software, more coffee, more everything. It's a sign that a nation's productivity is getting bigger and better.
And the main tool we use to measure all of this stuff? That's GDP, or Gross Domestic Product. You hear this term thrown around constantly for a reason. It's basically the scoreboard for the entire economy.
And at its core, how it works is actually pretty straightforward. First, you've got businesses making all their goods and providing all their services. Then, we figure out the total dollar value of all of that production. You add it all up, boom, that's your GDP. And when that number goes up, that's what we call economic growth.
But here's where it gets a little more interesting. It's not just about one single speed. To really get a feel for the economy's health, you got to think of it as having two different speeds. And the gap between them, that's what's really crucial.
So first, you have actual growth. That's the headline number, right? It tells us how much we're producing right now. But then you have potential growth. Think of this like the economy's absolute top speed. What it could produce if every factory, every worker, every resource was running at full, sustainable capacity.
And this difference between where we are and where we could be, that's what economists call the output gap. If our actual growth is way below potential, it means there's slack in the system. There's room to grow. But if we try to push past our potential for too long, well, that's when the engine really starts to overheat.
So let's talk about the good times. When that economic engine is just purring along, when growth is strong and steady, what does that actually look and feel like for everyone?
Well, for businesses, it's pretty much a golden age. People have more money, so demand for products goes way up. That leads to higher sales and profits, which gives companies the confidence to invest, build new things, and most importantly, hire more people.
And that's where it really hits home for all of us. More hiring means more job opportunities and usually higher wages. With more money in our pockets, we can afford a better quality of life. You see an improvement in living standards pretty much across the board.
And you know who else benefits from this amazing cycle? The government. When people and companies are making more money, they pay more in taxes. And that extra revenue lets the government invest right back into society, funding better schools, modern hospitals, and smoother roads for everyone.
But, it's not a perfect fairy tale. Growth is an incredible force. But pushing that engine too hard, too fast, that can come with some very real and sometimes painful side effects.
One of the biggest risks, inflation. If demand for stuff outpaces our ability to supply it, prices just get pushed higher and higher. Then there's the environmental cost. I mean, more production often means more pollution and using up our natural resources. And this is a big one. The benefits of all that new wealth, they're not always shared equally, and that can make the gap between the rich and poor even wider.
This quote here really gets to the heart of it. Economic growth is a powerful, powerful tool for making people's lives better, but it forces us to deal with these really tough trade-offs between prosperity, stability, and, the health of our planet.
So, what's the big takeaway here? I think it's that we have to see economic growth for what it truly is. An incredibly important metric, yes, but also a double-edged sword that has to be managed really, really carefully.
So let's just lay it all out, side by side.
The pros are huge: more jobs, higher incomes, better public services. But the cons are just as real, and they demand our attention. The danger of runaway inflation, real damage to our environment, and the very serious problem of widening inequality.
At the end of the day, we just have to remember this isn't some abstract number in a textbook. It's a force. It's a force that shapes the opportunities we get, the health of our communities, and the kind of world we live in every single day.
And that kind of leaves us with a final, much deeper question, doesn't it? Maybe the real goal shouldn't just be chasing a bigger number on a chart. Maybe the real challenge is figuring out how to get growth that's not only strong, but also sustainable and fair for everyone. Growth for what? And for whom? That's the question we're thinking about.